to Back Alley Chat, the fastest growing addiction recovery podcast in the world. This might be episode 34, 35, 36. It's pathetic. I know. I'm sorry. There are some episodes that haven't come out yet. So luck of the draw, which one this one is. But I love you all so much for being here today. I have an amazing guest, Drew. We've known each other for maybe 5-ish years now. Yep. And I've got to see him start a business and fight the system and just be a really great advocate for individuals struggling with mental health and substance use and trauma and all sorts of stuff. So we're going to get a little bit into his story and hear about what he's doing now, and maybe we'll talk a little bit about resiliency and all sorts of fun stuff. I'm looking forward to it. Before we begin, of course, as always, I want to thank our amazing, dubious, fantastic sponsor, Quick Intel, for allowing us to have these conversations every week. As I always say, I don't know why YouTube hates us, but they demonetize every episode, even though it's all educational content. So so Quick Intel, if you guys don't know, they have a hub of AI, crypto, and security and safety tools to help you stay safe and keep your money safe. Say no to scammers. With Quick Intel, you can easily look through a cryptocurrency's contract to see if there's anything weird in there. Is there a honeypot? Are they holding money? What's going on? You want to know that what you're investing in is safe. So use Quick Intel. You can use them on the Dex Tools website where they're seamlessly integrated, or you can download their app on an iOS or Android today. Or as always, you can go to quickintel.io. They also have a ton of educational material about crypto and all that stuff. So I highly suggest you check them out before you give some random person on the internet your money. And with that being said, hi, Drew.
Hey, Allie.
How's it going?
Seems reasonable.
Right?
Good, how you doing?
Yeah, make sure you don't get robbed.
Right?
Yeah. Do you have any crypto?
I do not.
Yeah.
I know nothing about that world. So.
Yeah, my boyfriend's like a super crypto person.
Okay.
Which is awesome. So just because of that, I've been able to learn some of it. It's very complicated, though.
Yeah, I'm zero.
Yeah, I keep telling him, if it's going to be this hard, no one's ever going to use it. Like, Jesus Christ. But it's also okay, at least the government doesn't have access to all my money because who knows, right?
That's true.
So thanks for coming down here today from the Melbourne area.
Yep, thanks for having me. Appreciate
You're such a Melbourne person. Whenever you're at your accent, even
what
though
does that
it's
mean,
not.
Melbourne?
I don't know. It's you have this surfer vibe accent, which I don't even know. Is that a Melbourne accent?
I don't know. Honestly,
I don't know either.
I think people just used to ask me if I smoke a lot of weed, which I don't, never have. So that's super weird. But
did you grow up there though?
So I'm originally from Pennsylvania.
Okay, what part? Don't say Pittsburgh. Don't say
north of Allentown.
Okay.
A couple hours north of Allentown.
Cool.
But I moved down here super young because my mom was diagnosed with cancer when I was really young, and she couldn't be in a really cold environment. If she got pneumonia or anything, it was lung cancer, so she could die. So the doctors recommended we move to a warm, drier climate. Mm-hmm. So we ended up in Clearwater, Florida, and then from there, just life happened, and I transitioned to Satellite.
Yeah.
Had a lot of things happen between Pennsylvania and Clearwater, and then we lived in Orlando for a little bit, but eventually ended up in Satellite. But I had gone to Satellite, traveled Satellite through high school, stayed with friends. I used to surf, had sponsors and stuff. So, going over and just practicing for contests and staying with other families. So I'd always had some experience there. So I was bi-coastal.
Right.
But I always kind of knew I wanted to end up in that area.
I love it over there. It is I haven't been up there in a couple years, but it's always been a true beachy town and just I don't know, I just like the vibes up there. It's
super small.
Yeah, quiet, small. Yeah. And I really, really, really love it up there. So tell me a little bit about Drew. So you moved to Satellite Beach. How old were you?
So when I moved to Satellite, it was after a whole bunch. I just kind of ended up there.
Yeah, I was going to say, what happened before you got there with all your moves?
Okay, so I can take you through that. That's kind of... So I was born in Pennsylvania. Mom was diagnosed when I was 9.
Was Dad around?
So no, Dad was never around. I was an only child. I had a stepdad for a little bit. I was adopted. But he, from what I understand from my aunt, who's not even really my aunt, it's my mom's best friend, who I always called Aunt Kathy growing up. that he developed an issue with cocaine.
Oh, wow.
And kind of mom came home one day and lights went off and she's like, what the fuck? And so she divorced him. He later I later found out that he like went to prison for something and ended up like, I think he got killed in prison.
Oh my God.
But I don't have like too much knowledge on him.
Right.
But once she was diagnosed, like I said, the doctors, said we should move to south, somewhere warmer. So we tried California for a minute. That was like not good enough. So we ended up in Clearwater. During that time, I was like going to elementary school and I was like super bullied. You know what I mean?
Really?
Like, yeah, a lot of bullying because I was just, I was a mama's boy. Like I grew up with just my mom. Like I said, she was diagnosed when I was 9. So like since 9 years old, I was like cooking, cleaning. There were times where I was wiping her ass and helping her shower,
Wow.
like, making her take her medications. Like, I could cook,
So
clean,
much responsibility for a little kid.
yeah, like I kind of, call it being parentified, right? Like, I can cook, clean, do laundry, but I can't fucking change oil or change a tire as a dude,
Right.
So yeah, dad was never around. She always had like a really bad picker in men. Also when she got diagnosed, she, the way she kind of coped with that was like alcohol. So she'd get pretty fucking drunk, and I remember a lamp being broke over my head one time, hit with a baseball bat. Like,
Wow.
She could be pretty violent. Her dad was violent. Like,
Right.
my grandpa was a bastard when it came to, putting his hands on his family and everything. So there was like some systemic trauma there, in just, learned behaviors. So there's always kind of violence around. If it was her, some of the men, like I said, she picked. I remember kind of fighting a couple of the boyfriends when I was, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 in there.
When did you get into surfing?
So surfing was kind of my way out. Like
I was thinking, like, was that your just quiet time or?
Yeah, I met a buddy in school who, he went to my church actually, and just kind of knew a little bit about what was going on with me, and he was Christian and he's a surfer. He's from California and moved to Florida really young. And, his name is Friedel. He took me out a couple of times and I just like fell in love with it. And I just knew that like when I'm in the ocean, I was kind of just like, it's me and God.
Yeah, totally.
Just nature. And I just found that it like really, really helped me calm myself, feel stable, and, help me kind of just gather my thoughts. So yeah, I started surfing super young. I don't even know what age I was, like 3rd grade or something.
And regardless of that positive outlet, you still ended up getting in some trouble, right?
Yeah. So keep going on through middle school and everything. My mom had always prayed to see me graduate high school. She was diagnosed when I was 9. She was given 5 years to live. And no one in my family had ever graduated high school. So she would pray to God, just let me see him graduate high school. So I did, graduated, and I moved to Orlando. I really just wanted to be on my own. I think, subconsciously I was just like really tired of taking care of her. Like I felt like I hadn't had, my own time. Like, so I was like, this is the time, right, to go. This is what kids do after high school, right? They go. So moved to Orlando. I started bartending. She wasn't really happy with my decisions, and we got in a really bad argument one night. And I was like, fuck you. I've raised you since I was 9 years old. I've done everything. Like, now it's my time. Like, if you don't like my decisions, you go fuck yourself. And that was 2 days later, somewhere around there. I forget. It's all kind of a blur. But, the next day or something like that, I got a call from my uncle saying, hey, if you ever want to see your mom alive again, you better get to Clearwater. So, hauled ass to Clearwater. A buddy drove me over there. And it just it was crazy. It was like a movie, dude. Like, I ran up the stairs, got to her room. I grabbed her hand and she flatlined.
Wow.
The second I touched her, yeah. She was like, she was holding on for me to get there. I know it sounds like super, but
that's real.
Total, like, God thing.
Wow.
Just, like, she held on until I got there, man. And I, like, remember it was, like, years before I went back to Clearwater after that. So after that happened, I just kind of started giving zero fucks, dude. Like, I had a lot of guilt and shame. I mean, last words I said to her were, go fuck yourself.
Right.
And so there was a lot of guilt and shame around that. Fast forward, kind of during that time, I met kind of the first person I was ever in a serious relationship with. So like when I met her, it was literally right after my mom died. I found something to like invest my time and my emotions and everything into, and I really just buried everything with my mom. I didn't get the proper help. I didn't seek therapy. You know, I was drinking real heavily. You know, and so I get in this relationship. I put everything in this relationship, right? Fast forward about 6 years, my behaviors continued to spiral out of control. I was bartending. You know, I wasn't coming home. I was just like doing dumb shit. Just stupid shit. I was just inconsiderate. You know what I mean? And she finally said, like, fuck it.
Right.
And, you know, took all of her shit and went to her mom's. And so during this time, her parents were, like, super Christian, amazing people. They kind of, like, took me in. Like, they knew, like, I didn't have it. Because, like, right after my mom died, my grandmother died. Right after that, my grandfather died, which was my whole family. Wow. So I'm 18 years old, bartending downtown Orlando, you know, lose my whole family. I've like zero coping skills, right? I'm surrounded by alcohol, liquor every night, you know? So, you know, they kind of took me in during that time and kind of helped me through that 6 years of that relationship, challenges I was having. I'd get arrested for little things. They'd bail me out. You know what I mean? They'd help me. They bought a car for me once. Like, you know, they were kind of always, they were my family. Like I call them to this day, mom and dad. Like, and then when we broke up, everything just went, because, you know, my mom died, but like I have this new family, right? And I had put everything in that. So now I'm going, I lost my girlfriend, I lost her mom, I lost her dad, I'm fucking alone again. Right. Like no one. Like I'm assuming they're just gonna turn their back on me. Right. And I just, like everything with my mom just came back like crazy. It was like it was just waiting for 6 years to just like jump and like attack. So like I was in Satellite, dude. I was joking around. I was like Satellite Beach's most wanted. Like, like the Satellite SBPD used to sit outside my house and wait for me to leave. Like I didn't have a license at the time because of course I've done dumb.
Who needs a license?
You know, had done a bunch of shit to lose it. But you know, I'd go into bars, man, and people would like get up and walk out because like bad fighting. Yeah, dude. I would just like I would sit there and drink 151 and Coke, 151 on the rocks with a splash of Coke, and slam shots of Jaeger with it. And I would just get to the point where I'd just see someone and just walk up and just fucking hit them. Wow. Whether I won or lost, it doesn't really matter. I lost plenty. But it was just, I came to realize later down the road that, you know, I was just seeing my face on their shoulders. You know what I mean? I was just angry at myself for, you know, what I said to the last thing I said to my mom and all the things I had burnt down around me. You know what I mean? There's this song by Rehab. And there's a lyric in it that goes, I pour kerosene on everything I love and watch it burn. And I used to like sit there and play that song on repeat and I'd get myself all and then I'd just fucking lose it. Yeah. You know? So fast forward, all this is happening. I get 3 DUIs in a row. During one of them, I ran over someone's car.
They ran over someone's car?
So, yeah. So, my car was
How do you run over a car?
So, one of my DUIs, I had given my truck to a buddy because I knew I would drive it, right? I knew I'd get drunk and make a stupid decision and drive it. So, I give it to my buddy. We all go out one night. His girlfriend parks behind it. And I actually ran into my ex at the same bar, the one I was with for so long. And I just want to leave. So I walk back to their house and I had a key to my truck. I go to get my truck and they're following me and they're like, where the fuck are you going? They're like, you can't drive. And the girlfriend of my buddy was like, I'm not moving my car. I was like, move your car. Right. She goes, fuck you. And I said, please move your car. And she's like, fuck you. I'm not moving it. And I was like, say fuck you to me one more time. And she goes, fuck you. Like that. I got in my truck and I backed over her car. So when the cops came, my car was like this up on hers, and I was just sitting in it with my keys. I throw my keys, like that's going to do something. Like they're going to.
I wasn't driving. I wasn't driving. I'm just sitting here.
I don't know. Yeah, I was just sitting here.
How this happened?
So I caught an aggravated assault. Oh, during that, because at that time in the state of Florida, if you're drunk behind the wheel, your car becomes a weapon, and you know, you get charged with
Is it still like that today?
I don't believe so. I've kind of heard from some of my friends who are attorneys that has changed. But at the time, it was if you caused over $500 or $5,000 property damage or bodily injury, you could get charged with an ag assault charge.
Wow.
So by that time, my points had been adding up, and I was living in prison, and I had a attorney in town who was working my case. He was like, dude, what are you doing? You're no gangster. Like, you're just not like, you're not a gangster. Like, you're getting arrested for all this dumb shit. You're in pain. And I had 2 buddies who were Marines who came back with a real bad opiate problem. And one had gone to this place in Ocala called the Phoenix House. And he called me and was like, hey, man, I know you have a bunch of trauma and shit that you need to deal with. I was a bartender. I didn't have insurance. He's like, you're facing some pretty heavy charges. Ask your attorney if you could come to the Phoenix House. So I did, and I went there and had an amazing counselor. First thing he said was like, that word alcoholic came out of his mouth. Mm-hmm. And I was like, dude, I'm not an alcoholic. And he's like, what are you talking about? You have 3 fucking DUIs. Like, you're in denial. Mm-hmm. And I was like, no. I want to kill myself. Like, I cut myself all the time. I self-harm daily. Like, I'm depressed. I'm anxious. Like, I have a mental health issue. Like,
and you knew that before even getting any like formal education on any of this. You knew it was a mental health thing, not instead of a substance use.
Yeah,
thing.
It was like the alcohol use is just a symptom of something greater. Right. So that counselor amazingly like never utilized substance use kind of strategies in my treatment plan. Wow. Like, he never used the word addict or alcoholic again. He focused on my family system. He focused on trauma. He focused on grief and loss. And that actually translates into my business today, how we work with our patients, because he met me where I was at, dude. Yeah. And that really helped, probably saved my life.
Yeah. It's so amazing, too, that he didn't fight you on it, pretend like he knew better, or like, oh, I have this degree. I know what I'm talking about. You obviously have an alcohol problem, right? Yep. That's so amazing. And so that was obviously transformative for you.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Like, he played a really major, fast forward a little bit. When I started going back to school, when I got
Is that what made you want to go to school? Was that somebody helped you and you wanted to be able to do that, or what?
It was, I think when I started getting like psychologically healthy, especially with the trauma piece, I was just like, man, there's so many like hurting people. I think my story can help. I don't know what that looks like. Right. And then I just started learning about, I started out as human services, which is more like social work. Sure. And then kind of transitioned into counseling. But yeah, kind of my own struggles and just seeing friends struggle. Like, I just, at that time, viewed life as a fucking struggle, like, which it is, you know? Sure. So I just wanted to kind of help others experiencing similar problems and stuff. So fast forward that counselor, so I started going to school up there. At College of Central Florida. And then I went to St. Leo. I did a dual bachelor's, one in human services and one in psychology. And for my human services, I needed an internship. Mm-hmm. Well, this time, you know, I have a felony, right? Like, you know, my record's longer than I am tall. And nowhere would give me an internship.
Really?
Right? So I called Phoenix House. My old counselor had become the clinical director.
Oh, wow.
So he goes, come on up, fill an application, we'll get you pushed through the DOC background screen. So he comes up, does that. I did my internship there. The guy that was the head of the rehab contracting for Florida, his name is Dick Pierce, you know, interviewed me and made the decision that I was a viable candidate and pushed me through the background screen. I remember he said, son, don't fuck this up. But and then like a week or two before I was done with my internship, he offered me a position. So awesome. I actually went back and worked for my counselor as a counselor at the same program I went through as a bachelor's level therapist in the private pay unit at the Phoenix House.
That's so awesome. And so obviously you wanted to keep learning because you went back to school to get a master's, right? You have your master's? Yeah. Are you LCSW now or?
So we went, there's another funny story. I was working at Phoenix House, then I transitioned to working for the country's second largest methadone clinic.
What was that like?
Quad County. They were called Quad County up there. The original name was was Colonial Management Group, and they're now New Season. That was super interesting because before that, you know, I had the perspective of like, yeah, meet people where they're at, but I was still like kind of anti-meds.
Right.
Like I was still still that green where like all you need is a therapist and a pad and pen and a cardigan and you just talk this out.
Right.
And, you know, and that's kind of, you know, how I kind of came up in the field. And then I worked at the Methadone clinic and I saw people, like females. There's this one female especially who came in. She was, you know, involved in stuff in the street, selling her body, you know, just didn't have clothes. I mean, not clean, no meat on her bones. I saw her come in and I wasn't her counselor, but she would always come talk to me. Mm-hmm. And I remember like 6 months later, man, she comes in, she's like, Mr. Drew, she's like, I got a job. And like her face is clear and glowing and she has clean clothes on. And, you know, you could tell she had respect for herself and in her body. And, you know, so at that time I saw the value in Matt and really started to specialize in medication-assisted treatment, opiate use disorder, the trauma associated in that kind of specific realm of treatment. So yeah, that was super interesting.
I was just talking about this on the last when I was just recording because I guess I would love your opinion on this. So we have one harm reduction agency in Palm Beach County, Rebel Recovery. They're great. They're awesome. I'm not saying anything bad about them.
Yeah, I've heard about them before.
So they recently got funding to help people pay for sober living, but they're only paying for sober living that takes MAT.
Okay.
And so for me, I just feel like I would have a hard time if I was an abstinence-based person in a MAT sober living house. Like maybe if it was a rehab center, cool. It's maybe, I don't know. What do you think about that? Should they only cover MAT housing or should...
To me, that almost seems like a fuck you to the abstinence base.
Right.
Because like it used to be that way with MAT. Like people would only get funding.
And that's what I was telling her. I was like, everyone's MAT now. Like there's no...
Yeah. So it's almost like they're kind of reversing the system. Like, you know, we fought so long to get funding and stuff for MAT, and now you're saying it's MAT only. It's almost like punitive, I feel like. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like
not everyone has to do MAT.
Right.
Like it's great. I talk about it all the time. I think it's awesome, but like for those who are not going to choose that path, it would be really hard for me to be have a roommate who is like taking meds. Yeah. Like just for me in early recovery. If I was 18 years old, a month sober, I'd be like, oh. Yeah. You're on meds? Like, how do I get meds? I don't know. It's just natural. I just think it's a natural thing. I just want to get your idea.
No, for sure. I mean, I think in my practice, like we support all pathways to recovery, like, you know, and that should be honored. Like you fucking know you better than I do. Right. Bottom line. And if we could get to a place of like acceptance and authenticity and transparency, like we could determine together, right, what's going to work best for you. I'm going to meet you where you're at, but I'm also going to challenge you. Like, is that even really a possibility? Right. You know?
Like, what are the different pathways to recovery that you guys utilize at BRIC?
So we support, you know, abstinence-based, celebrate recovery, MAT, you know, mental health focused, you know, even moderation-based with alcohol. Like,
I've never heard that before. Can you tell us about it?
So moderation-based recovery for, like, alcohol is, you know, just, you know, setting boundaries, right? Like, setting boundaries around your drinking. Like, understanding, you know, like, am I drinking to mask something, or am I, like, trying to just a social adult? You know what I mean? Doing something that's legal, socializing. You know, what are my boundaries around that for myself? What are the guardrails I'm putting in place to make sure that I can do this safely? When do I not do this? Like the hard no's, right? You know, the daily kind of things that I have to do to keep myself healthy so that I can do this. Right. Right. I call them like non-negotiables. Kind of thing. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Basically, you know, harm reduction with like drinking. Right. And there is plenty of evidence behind that too. That's so cool. We support all those, man, and you know, I had a girl who came in one time. She was she had been my patient for a while, and she was a chronic relapser. She'd do good for 8 or 9 months, and then she'd like go on a 2-day bender and get a DUI or end up in circles of care or whatever. And she's on one of those like times when she's doing really, really good. And she comes in and we're doing session and she goes, hey, I think I want to focus more on my mental health. I've been through this substance use. I could run groups like you know, and that's true. Like you go through the South Florida Shuffle or any other, you know, treatment so many times you can, you know, you get to that point. So I wanted to explore it with her. So I said, okay, let's look at the evidence of if you're a candidate for that, right? I said, when's the last time you drank? And she said, Thursday. I said, okay. I said, are you on probation right now? And she said, yes. I said, what are the conditions of your probation? And she went through and then she goes, you know, not to use any mood altering substances. And I was like, what is alcohol? Mood altering substance. I said, okay, so that shows, right, is a reflection that right now you are probably not a candidate for mental health focused recovery. Because if you were, you would be able to get through probation first, right? Like it wouldn't be that important to you where you would put yourself at risk, right? And she kind of understood that. She's like, you're right. Like, you know, it says probation says don't drink. I should not drink. Like, you know, if there wasn't kind of still a little bit of an issue there, right?
Totally.
So I said, let's talk after, you know, you're off probation and see what that looks like. You know what I mean? Like, because who am I to tell you what you're capable of?
Totally.
You know?
And I think it's interesting because even, you know, if someone did try the moderate thing to moderate, they might then find out that, oh, I'm not good at this. Maybe I do need to go through an abstinence-based program, right? Because that's also what they suggest in the big book. They go, hey, you don't know you're an alcoholic? Go try some controlled drinking.
Exactly.
Go to a bar, drink one, go home, do that a couple days in a row. Or did you do it? Okay, great. That's good. Can you not do it? Okay, maybe we have a solution for you.
I always tell patients, like, who, like, you know, sure, is, you know, could you be the 2%? How the fuck do I? Absolutely, you could be. You know what I mean? If you want to give that a shot, like, give it a shot. But, you know, statistically speaking, you know, probably not. But you may be. Who the fuck am I to say? I mean, I've seen tons of people surprise me every day. My patients surprise me every day, dude.
I bet.
So, you know, who am I to say what you're, you know.
What do you think about functional, like, alcohol or marijuana or, like, what is that? Like, if you're doing everything, but at night you drink or smoke weed, is that bad?
So we're super medical model with my practice, right? So even kind of with me, like I'm in a mental health focused recovery, right? Like, so with drinking, like, am I checking the boxes for use disorder? You know what I mean? What is the evidence, right?
Right.
If I can have a drink, you know, at night and I'm getting up at the time that and going to the gym and functioning, I mean, because there's functioning, you know, alcoholic or drug addict and there's like functioning, like, you know what I mean? Like
there's people who might not leave their house or go out and see family because they're drunk and they can't drive. Maybe that's not super functioning.
Right. What is the evidence, like, from the DSM? You know, we go by the Diagnostic Statistical Manual of Mental Health Disorders, and like, am I checking those symptoms off, right? Am I developing a tolerance? Am I doing things, you know, in a way that puts me in medical danger? Am I doing things in a way that puts me in danger socially, right? Am I seeing withdrawal symptoms the next day? Like, so that's kind of my thought on that is like, if you, like, keep you in check there, right? For example, like when we were talking about, you know, I had to kind of fight for my license because I'm an ex-felon. Or I mean, I'm not an ex-felon. I'm always going to be a fucking felon, especially in Florida. But like I went, so they sent me for, the DOH sent me for a assessment because.
So this was after you finished your master's program at school? Yeah,
so I'm back up. I go to do my master's while I'm working at the Methadone clinic. Then my buddy Denny offers me a position to run a treatment center that he was opening in Cocoa Beach called Peace Club, which specialized in trauma and opiate use disorder.
Okay.
Real super unique model. So I came down back to Satellite and was the opening program director for him and was continuing my education. So I'm working at Peace Club. I'm finishing my master's. and I put in for my licensure, right? So I finished my master's. I send everything off to the board.
And were you concerned when you were going through school that you might not be able to get licensed? Because I know a lot of people with criminal backgrounds that have gotten licensed, right? Or
I mean,
depends on what it is. If it's a misdemeanor, it's cool.
Right. Like I had felonies, you know what I mean?
With an S, got it. Yeah,
and
multiple.
one with harm, aggravated assault
sure.
is harm, crimes against person, right? So like, my record's not very, it's not short, so it's not very pleasing. So yeah, dude, I had definite concerns, but I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna do this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And kind of skips, like, while I was in college or while I was in Ocala, I actually had a technical violation right before I got off probation. I ended up going to prison. So, it's just stuff's piling up. By the time it comes to licensure, I've got one prison bid. I've been in every county jail in Central Florida.
Right.
Like, I'm just not, like, what they're looking for, right?
The ideal mental health clinician candidate.
Right.
Got it.
So
how did that fight go? So you put in for your licensure and they're like, no, or what?
So I put in for my licensure and I get this email back that was like, okay, no. So we had no was no was the first one. But then I appealed that. We had a little hearing, and I forget which board member it was, but was like, he's done all this. We should at least give him a chance to show that, he's got it together. So he recommended I go through PRN. Are you familiar with that?
Like the nursing thing?
Professional Resource Network. So it's for impaired professionals.
Okay, got it.
So they wanted me to go get an evaluation with PRN. Now, mind you, at this time, I'm married. I have 2 kids. I've adopted those 2 children. I've started a business that's went from a side hustle to now having office space full-time, helping hundreds of people. Purchased a home, purchased cars. Like
you're a person.
Yeah, right. I'm adulting.
Yeah,
right?
you're adulting hard.
So during this time, I do this evaluation. And they get this guy who owns and runs a place in Tampa, who's contracted with PRN, and I go through all my shit, and we get to the substance use assessment. And he goes, okay, alcohol. When's the last time you drank? I said, I think it was Thursday. He goes, or Friday. It was Friday. He goes, it was Thursday because I was doing the eval on a Friday. So he goes, so you relapsed? I said, no. He's like, what do you mean no? He's like, how much do you have to drink? I said, I had 3/4 of a Dos Equis with a slice of pizza. 2 slices of pizza, actually. And he's like, well, what was going on? I was like, well, we had a case and we won the court case for our, with our patient. So the attorney and I went to go get a slice of pizza at this place, Sabelli's, and we had a beer with our pizza.
Right.
And he's like, so you relapsed? And I was like, no, I just had like a beer. And he's like, so you're in denial? He's like, what do you mean? Like you used? And I'm like, I had a beer. He's like, well, what do you consider it? I said, if you ask me, like, about this situation, right? Like, yes, at one time I met hard. Like at one time
right.
I broke the barrier for like, alcohol use disorder severe. Like I wrote the book on that shit.
Right.
Like that was a point in my life. But there's a modifier in the DSM that if you are having used for 3 months, if you haven't met criteria for alcohol use disorder for 3 months, it's called early remission. If you haven't used for 6 months, it's sustained remission, right? Not if you haven't met criteria for use disorder. And I said, I had, yes, I met criteria for that for sure. I haven't met criteria for that in, 15 years.
It's so cool the way you're talking about this, by the way. I think it's so interesting because it's never spoken about like this. I just right? Like everyone speaks like that guy that was interviewing you.
Yeah. And it was so funny because he's like hardcore, like old school 12-step, like just no thinking outside the box, no critical thinking, like no humanization of the person. Like, so, I was just like, yes, I met criteria for use disorder one time. I don't anymore. I haven't in years. Like, I don't have it. There's no evidence to support that I have use disorder. So I said, so he's like, what kind of recovery are you in? I said, mental health focus. I said, my problems have always been, like, I'm going to fucking fight, get arrested, punch a person, drunk, high, or sober,
right,
if my shit's not right.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
If my head's not together, I'm going to do that shit regardless. It doesn't fucking matter, if I'm using substances. And he's like, oh, so you're in a mental health focused recovery. And he actually did the fucking air quotes. Like, it was like, you are a tool.
Oh, wow.
But I was like, yeah. So he's like, well, what are some things you do? I was like, I get massages. I go to the sensory deprivation tank. Like, I'm in the gym every day. I surf. Like, I have what I call non-negotiables in my life.
Right.
That I do know. They're on my calendar in red. Like, they're things I do daily to keep this is not a good place to be. Right. Right. Like, totally. So it's to keep this safe and working properly. So, I told him that. And so anyway, we get through the rest of the report and I finally get it back and like.
Denied. Is that what happened?
Told his recommendation was fucking residential treatment.
Oh my God.
I'm up at 5 a.m. every day in the gym.
Wow.
Running a business, home at 6, 7, 8, getting all my kids' sports, providing for my family. This motherfucker wants me to go to residential treatment. I was like, fuck you. Are you out of your mind? Like, so I lost my shit.
Crazy.
I hired an attorney. They're like one of the best healthcare law attorneys in the country. And, I was telling him what it was about. They were referred to me by a colleague, and he's like, "Get in here, let's talk." He's like, "Did you sign anything to go into PRN?" And I was like, "No." He goes, "All right, fuck them." Like, I mean, this guy, like, he didn't even really report things right. He reported my wife as a vet; she's a teacher. Like, you know what I mean? Like, his report wasn't even. So I ended up suing the DOH.
Wow.
For my license, it was like a 7-month. Battle, cost
and
a
what was
lot
their
of
part
money.
of the fight? Their fight was just that you're not a qualified professional individual, or
they were saying that I'm unable to practice with reasonable skill and safety.
Wow,
was their claim.
And you had been practicing probably.
I'd been in the field for 10 years already, almost like 7, 8 years.
Wow.
And it was funny because at the beginning of those types of cases are in administrative law court, right? And the judge said right away, she goes, "This is not going to be a fishing expedition." She's like, so she told the state, she's like, "I hope you are able to prove to me that at this point in time, Mr. Breznitsky is unable to practice reasonable skill and safety." And 7 months, I mean, I had a mental health evaluation, another one. I had, an MMPI, personality inventory. We had, people to come testify. I mean, people just came out of the woodwork, dude. And, the best part about the trial was it was during Zoom because it was toward the end of COVID where we were wrapping up. And they had asked, the final question by my attorney when we were really wrapping it up was, "Why do you want your license?" And I was like, well, one day I want to be a qualified supervisor. I want to help train ethical and clinically competent individuals, right? I want to be a role model for others, whatever. And finally, I lean in the camera and I go, "But most of all, I want my license because I want to come for their board seat so that this never, ever, ever happens to another person again." I was like, because this is ridiculous.
Wow.
And the judge ruled in our favor, and I got my provisional license, a couple months later.
That's amazing.
So.
That's so amazing. That probably felt so good. I've been like, "Fuck you."
Yeah, man, it was gratifying for sure.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't right, dude.
No.
Like, having gone through all these things, continuing to fight, like, I think I showed a lot of resilience.
And taking such good care of yourself and your family every day for someone to be like, "Oh no, this person's not competent. They need to go to inpatient rehab." And I would just be like, "Are you serious right now?" Like, wow. So you got to win that. So, and now, I mean, we got to wrap up here in a minute, but you were just saying you walked off your roof, broke your back. And I just thought it was a good, reminder that, like, see you, first of all, here today, smiling, telling your story, like driving hours to come meet me. First of all, you show up, you do what you're supposed to do. I think it's amazing. But obviously, even when you're doing all those right things and taking care of yourself, like, life still happens. Yeah. And so you had to deal with that. And then last week you got diagnosed with a brain tumor.
Yeah.
So, like, Jesus fuck, how are you handling it? Do you have, like, what is your plan moving forward? And like, how are you feeling?
I mean, I think just like always, I mean, there's definitely been dark times during this for sure. I think just constant assessment, like there's no black or white, right? Everything, there's gray, right? So trying not to have like a rigid thought process, always trying to find the middle path, constantly assessing like where am I at, like mentally and emotionally, right? Like really just asking those questions and being honest with yourself,
Right.
There's times, there have been definite difficult times throughout this where I have not been okay. Okay, what are the things I have in place?
Yeah, that's what I was just going to ask. Like,
one of the weeks I had, I saw my therapist 3 times in 1 week.
Cool.
Like,
awesome.
I most recently adjusted my schedule, like, because a big thing for me is the gym. Okay, I can't go to the gym right now. So what can I do? So because I'm a big calendar person, so I like changed my gym times on my calendar. Like I'm starting to journal. Okay. I'm utilizing that space that I fell off of creating. Right. I'm sitting outside of, with my dog and just, I'm reading, which is not, I haven't read since prison. So I'm reading more, I'm finding other things that help ground me. I'm slowing down a little bit because honestly, I think that was God's way of like slowing me down.
Yeah.
Because I was, again, my amygdala with all the trauma I've experienced and everything hasn't stopped since I was 9. I've been fighting for, 30 years. And I think this is God's way of like pushing me off a roof and being like, slow the fuck down. Like you have a team at your job. You have, a family that you like, just, you don't have to keep going. Right. It's going to be okay.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's been like a huge thing. So really just like staying focused on that, having things in place, my non-negotiables that I do every day that help me refocus and recenter every day. I don't ever wake up without like I refuse to wake up without a smile on my face.
That's good.
Like people who wake up miserable every day, like I pray for them, dude, because, just waking up we should be grateful.
Right. Yeah.
So
I'm so grateful you came on here, and Drew, I'm grateful that you do the work that you do, because I hope that eventually one day, like, more people will think the way that you do and be open-minded and, like you said, use those critical thinking skills, because I really think that's the only way, if we ever even want to get out of this problem that is kind of unique to the United States a bit, right? Yeah. Everywhere there's a substance use, but right here we have it so badly. And if we're ever going to get out of that, I think our thinking around it needs to change. The way we treat it needs to change, and it needs to be super individualized, unlike it is right now. We just cattle everybody through the same program over and over again with a super low success rate, right?
Cookie cutter treatment plans.
Yeah, exactly. Literally. I was looking at my treatment plan the other day. I was like laughing. I was like, this thing is like pathetic. It was literally made in a computer where she like put like click and drop. Yeah. It was like a click and drop treatment plan. I was like, wow, like that's unbelievable that's how they were trying to fix me.
I have our EHR has those, right, where you can just drop down like regular. And I tell my therapist, I'm like, we do not use these.
Yeah.
Every single objective. I have an amazing staff who wouldn't do that anyway, thank God. But I always reinforce it, like everything needs to be individualized to the person.
Right. Where can people find you?
So our website is www.bric, BRIC, thestigma, THESTIGMA.com. We're on Facebook at Facebook/Bric the Stigma, Instagram at Bric the Stigma, and then same with YouTube at Bric the Stigma.
Do you do any like virtual therapy? Like, are any of your clinicians, asking for myself?
So that's all kind of, we don't necessarily believe in, like, we're in person. Like, we believe in the in-person experience, being engaged, getting up and going to therapy is a commitment, right? Like, so, anyone kind of open their laptop. Like, getting up, going to therapy is a commitment to yourself. We want to honor that commitment. So the answer to that is not really as new patients, unless it was someone unless someone reached out and said, hey, I'm in South Florida, we were a good fit.
It's hard to find a good clinician.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's not, but I tried two different people and they were both like awful. I was like, bro, I'm not doing this shit. So
I mean, we're open to it.
Yeah.
Like our patients we currently see, if they go out of town, then yes, we will see them.
Totally.
Telehealth, if it's another county or nearby, like basically my thing is like I want it to at least be within driving distance. So if they need to come, they really need an in-person session, they can come in pretty easily.
Yeah.
But it's just, per person.
Right.
Again, that individualized, like, if someone calls and they say, hey, I'm going through this and this and this and this, like, and I think it's a safety thing. Like, I'm going to be like, let me help you find someone that could be a good fit in your area.
Yeah.
If it's someone that's relatively safe and they want to work on, and I feel like it's a safe situation, I'll be like, yeah, we could do some telehealth for sure. Again,
another
based
thing
on
I
the
appreciate
person.
about you is I've seen it in person, how you go above and beyond for individuals who reach out for help, and that is something that is unique. Not everybody does that. So thank you for that. You give people hope.
You too. Actually, that's one of the things I love and respect about you is you definitely go above and beyond. So I appreciate that.
Thanks for coming. You're the bomb. That was so fun. Everybody, like I said, bi-weekly now, Back Alley Chat. Comment if you thought any of that was interesting. If you've never heard about some of the things that we spoke about today, comment them down below. Maybe if you have questions, a professional can answer them. And I love you all so much. Be kind to other people today. And I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Bye.